Did you know you can pre-paste your tissue paper ready for Chine-Collé? Today I'm going to show you how. Hi, I'm Helen. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my studio space. So using tissue paper for Chine-Collé is wonderful because it goes a little bit translucent and you can get some lovely qualities combining your collage tissue paper with the print. But I've said before that I struggled with getting the glue on the tissue paper. The tissue paper then goes fragile. I like using recycled materials, so I'm reusing the tissue paper from packaging and stuff. So it's not wet strength tissue paper, but I still want to use it. I don't want to waste these lovely resources. I have nori paste. Now, I know a lot of printmakers use the rice paste in powder form and they sprinkle that on their papers as they print. And then the moisture from the paper, the printing paper that you've had to re-wet for the intaglio printing, then activates the dry powder. Well, I don't have the nori paste in the dry powder form. I've got a jar of this. So I was trying to work out, okay, well, what can I do to make my life a little bit easier, to make the tissue paper a little bit more stable and easier to work with? And I think I've come across a very, very good idea. Now, all of you crafters out there who do junk journaling and all sorts of things, you will know about this wonderful product, and it is this stuff. So this is another recycled product. This is the plastic that comes in your cereal boxes. So this came from my box of muesli. It's the packet that contained the dry powder, and this plastic is wonderful. So I had a go at using this and my nori paste and my tissue paper to see if I could apply the glue to the back of this paper, let it dry, and then use the pre-glued tissue paper in the Chine-Collé process. And yes, it works. It works beautifully. I was so thrilled. So I've got now, I'm getting a collection of pre-pasted tissue papers, and they're actually a little bit more stable because they've got the glue on the back. This one still has printing on the back, but I don't know if you can see on camera, but there is a bit of a shine to it, and that's the glue. So all of these are pre-glued papers. They've got glue on the back and they're dry and they're beautiful. So I'm going to show you how I go about doing this. So I've got my nori paste. I've got some tissue papers that I haven't glued yet. So there's some scripts and scraps in there, and there's some other bits and pieces. So ones that I've used, they've either got acrylic paint on or they've got printing ink on, and they're all just found tissue papers, so packaging tissue papers, so not wet strength tissue paper at all. I'm going to stand up now. So I've got my cereal box plastic and I've got my nori paste, and all I'm going to do when I relocate my brush is just making sure my brush is a little bit wet. I haven't diluted this nori paste at all. I may put a little bit of water just to slacken it. But all I'm going to do is just paste onto the paper. I'm doing a fairly thick coverage. You know, I can see it's covering. And how far do we need to go? And then find the wrong side. So you want the right side up. You want to put the glue on the back of your paper. And basically you're just gluing your paper down onto the cereal packet. If you want to get all your creases out, you could get another brush and just, let's get that. You could get a soft brush and just spread that down a little bit. If there's any bits that haven't caught, just lift up and pop a bit more down. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just gluing my paper to the cereal packet. And then I will leave it to dry. Now I know this sort of plastic is being used by home bakers as well. It's a useful plastic to save for kitchen use, you know, for rolling out pastries and stuff like that. So yeah, very useful. And so it works as a bit of a non-stick. If I'm getting any lumps on there, I'm actually kind of squashing, actually those ones may be a little bit too dry, squashing them down as I go. And this is the side that's got the printing on it, that's the reverse. So right side up, just pop that down. So just cover your piece of plastic with as many bits of paper as you can. I'm going to have to be a bit canny now as to what I can get where. So I may have to do a little bit of piecing. Let's find some small pieces just to fill in those gaps. So it can be a little bit addictive, and suddenly you've got all this paper that you can now play with. Now this is brilliant for the intaglio printing, which is probably the best use for it, because you're putting damp paper through the press, whatever press you're using, whether you're doing it by hand with a rolling pin or whatever, or whether you're putting it through your die cutting machine or pasta machine, whatever press you're using. Because you're using damp paper, it's the damp paper that's reactivating the glue, which is making the magic happen. So yeah, it's very exciting. I was very excited by it. I know it doesn't take much for me to get excited by any process. Let's put that strip down there. Kind of got a bit too much glue on here and not enough stuff to stick down. So actually putting glue onto the tissue paper itself, it's just going to get too wet and soggy, but by gluing the plastic, it's brilliant. Blooming brilliant. Love it. Can I get that down there? I wonder. I might pop this into two pieces. Yeah, I think if I do you down here. So yeah, paste as much as you can on one sheet and leave it to dry, and then we'll have a look at what happens next. Now, if like this happens here, if this goes over the edge, it doesn't really matter. You can just have a double layer on that little bit, or you can choose to trim that off later. It hasn't got any glue up here. So yeah. So there you go. So I'm going to leave that to dry. You can see any bits that are just raising up a little bit. Pop Pop a little extra glue underneath. And we'll leave that to dry, and I'll show you what happens next. So I've got the tissue papers. They've been drying. They've actually been drying overnight. It doesn't take long for them to dry. You could stand them next to a radiator and they'd be dry in half an hour. But anyway, they've been they're dry. So I'm just going to show you what you need to do. And in fact, look, these ones are peeling off already. They just peel off of the plastic. And when they've stuck together, you do have to just peel them off of there. But yeah, so they peel off the plastic, and the nori paste is left as a shine on the reverse, which I think is brilliant. So yeah, you just peel them off and they're dry. The tissue paper is more stable. See, they hardly need any peeling from here. And you can reuse this plastic over and over and over again. So I think it's brilliant. Actually, you can see, I don't know whether you can see on here, but I can see the brush marks on here. So you know that there's glue on there. And then when you come to do your intaglio printing, you're not having to worry about putting wet collage paper onto your print block or into the print. You're just going to be using the moisture from the printing paper. So yeah, I've got a nice little stash of tissue papers. I did another few on this one. So yeah, so don't waste your printing ink at the end of a session. Roll it out onto some tissue paper, and even if it is just cheap packing tissue paper, this process I think is blooming marvellous. And any rice-based glue will work. So you can actually make your own rice paste glue with I think probably sort of sushi rice, that sort of thing, or you just any rice, and you just boil the rice until it's a real sticky, sludgy mess, gloopy, way too cooked for eating, and blitz it in your blender. You can sieve it to get rid of any other lumps or anything like that. And pop it in a jar in the fridge. It will last in the fridge for a few days, maybe a week. And if you want it to last longer, you can even freeze it. So yeah, I've had a lovely time with this, and I think it's a brilliant way of using the nori paste. And yeah, so you can easily cut your shapes out from the tissue paper. Because the tissue paper is now more sturdy, and you don't need to worry about wet paper. So yeah, I'm really excited by this process, and I hope you are too. So that's it for this week. So thank you again very much for watching and for liking and subscribing, and your continued support with this channel. If you want to support me further, then please take a moment to read the description below, and that will give you details as to how you can support me further. And yeah, I love this process. So thank you so much again, and until next time, bye for now.